Resources like land, labor, and capital are strictly finite, yet human desires are boundless. Because physical resources are limited, every economic agent, from a single household to a multinational firm, must prioritize how they allocate what they have. On a macroeconomic scale, this forces societies to answer three precise operational questions: what to produce, how to produce it, and for whom. The theory of unlimited wants suggests that as soon as one societal or individual need is satisfied, another takes its place, applying compounding pressure to limited resource pools. Every single allocation of resources requires the dismissal of an alternative path. Ultimately, every choice carries a hidden toll. Economists define this as the opportunity cost, the exact value of the next best alternative that is sacrificed when a decision is made. If a firm projects higher market demand for automobiles and directs its capital into a car assembly line, the opportunity cost of that decision is the specific revenue it lost from foregone bicycle sales. This accounting applies directly to government policy and the mechanics of public welfare. When a state provides a commodity for free, the physical limits of production remain. The opportunity cost is simply transferred from the immediate consumer to the tax-paying public. Understanding where these hidden costs fall requires a complete model of the market, starting with the exact mathematics of individual consumer desire. A consumer's primary objective is to maximize utility, the quantifiable satisfaction they extract from consuming goods and services. This graph maps an indifference curve. Every point on this single line represents a different combination of two goods that yields the exact same level of satisfaction to the buyer. Assuming monotonic preferences, consumers prefer more goods to fewer. Mapping higher curves rightward generates a complete indifference map of increased utility. But desire is limited by fixed income and prevailing prices, forming a hard budget line slicing directly across the map. The rational consumer will push their consumption outward until their budget line is perfectly tangent to the highest possible indifference curve. This is the consumer's optimum. At this specific tangent point, the consumer's internal marginal rate of substitution perfectly matches the ratio of external market prices. If we vary the market price of one good, the budget line rotates, forcing the point of tangency to shift. Mapping these changing optimal quantities against their respective prices generates the actual slope of the demand curve. This chart shows the standard law of demand. Assuming normal goods, an increase in price dictates a measurable decrease in quantity demanded. Yet policymakers must account for structural exceptions where the curve fully inverts. Giffen goods are inferior staples with no close substitutes. For these items, price drops can paradoxically lead to a drop in demand. This triggers a policy paradox. If a state subsidizes a basic staple to assist the poorest demographics, those consumers often end up buying less of it. The money saved by the subsidy acts as a sudden boost in real income, allowing the consumer to abandon the inferior staple for superior, tastier alternatives. On the opposite end of the income spectrum is the Veblen effect, where luxury demand rises alongside exorbitant prices as a mechanism for status signaling. Manipulating prices without charting these anomalous curves risks damaging the specific economic activity intended for support. While consumers seek utility, firms operate strictly to maximize profit, constrained by the physical limits of their production functions. In the short run, firms face the law of variable proportions. Adding labor to fixed capital creates physical friction, causing diminishing marginal product. To bypass this bottleneck in the long run, firms must scale all their inputs simultaneously. A firm's efficiency in deploying that capital dictates its survival. This formula represents the Incremental Capital Output Ratio, or ICOR. It measures exactly how much new capital is required to produce a single additional unit of output. A lower ICOR indicates a highly efficient system, requiring less capital to generate faster economic growth. India currently operates with a higher ICOR, meaning its economy requires a heavy, continuous influx of capital just to maintain baseline growth rates. China maintains a low ICOR through aggressive infrastructure efficiency, while the United States maintains a moderate ratio by balancing heavy capital costs with advanced technology. A nation's aggregate ICOR sets the physical limits of industrial production, defining the boundaries of its market supply curve. This graph brings the consumer's demand curve and the firm's supply curve onto a single plane. The intersection of these two lines is market equilibrium. It is the exact point where buyer intentions perfectly align with producer limits. The model self-corrects. If demand exceeds supply, the resulting scarcity exerts upward pressure on prices until buyers are priced out and the balance resets. Conversely, excess supply forces producers to lower prices, clearing inventory until the market stabilizes again. In a perfectly competitive market, this equilibrium is maintained naturally by the unhindered entry and exit of firms hunting for profit. Modern industrial competition is increasingly shaped by the accumulation of data, a factor of production that complicates the traditional mechanics of market entry. As detailed in the recent economic survey, the accumulation of digital data has emerged as a critical new factor of production. Companies capable of harvesting vast troves of user data acquire a structural advantage that makes it difficult for new competitors to enter the market. This data supremacy challenges the assumption of free entry, often shifting competitive markets toward consolidated oligopolies. When markets alone do not deliver competitive efficiency or social justice, the state intervenes using mixed economy strategies. Modern India addresses this by blending command economy welfare goals with market-style efficiency tools, specifically utilizing the JAM Trinity and direct benefit transfers. By routing capital directly to beneficiaries, these digital frameworks eliminate middlemen and administrative friction, ensuring welfare distribution remains fast and accurate. Contemporary macroeconomics attempts to engineer a sustainable equilibrium where individual consumer choice, industrial capital efficiency, and social justice can operate in parallel.